Hello and welcome to this HDR video tutorial. In the last couple of parts we took a look at photomatics, how to combine your 9 image files which were differently bracketed and exposed, how to combine those, save it down as a 32-bit .hdr file, then reopen it and convert it into a 16-bit file which we've now opened up in Photoshop CS3. We've opened it in Photoshop just to adjust the levels, clean up a few of the dust patches, give it a reduction in noise, then sharpen, and then it'll be ready for printing. So we have an image which already looks pretty good. We can really see the HDR effect, but now what we need to do is just increase the tone within the image, and at the moment it is just a little bit flat, and we'll see how flat once we start to make those adjustments. So we're going to start off by duplicating our background layer. So right click on your background layer in your layers palette and just select duplicate layer. We're going to call this one HDR conversion. Click OK. And the first thing we want to do is just a generic levels tweak. So to adjust the levels for this layer, just go Control L. That'll open up the levels dialog window. If you're on a Mac, that's Apple L. And the first thing we want to do is just to move our highlight slider down to where the histogram starts and our highlight information starts. As we slide it down, you'll see very little happens to the image. We'll just start to see the red increase in the area of the boat. So if you just pull it in, so it just starts to clip the edge of the histogram. Now what we want to do is just to increase the blacks and also the midtones there. That just increases the detail that we can see coming through in the clouds here. Just pull the midtone slider down a little bit and you can really see that information in the clouds really starting to show through as well. Don't do it too much, otherwise we'll start to affect the red in the boat in the foreground. And once we're happy with just that very gentle tweak of levels, just click OK to apply it to the image. Now if we just take a look at before and after the levels adjustment, and you can already see how it's just started to really kick out the tonal information within the boat in the foreground. The rest of the image doesn't look too different at the moment. We're now going to zoom out of the image so we can see the full canvas, and what we want to do now is just to select areas and adjust the levels per area. Now the first area I'm going to select is the sky here. That's all nice and dark and pretty much of a similar exposure, and I'm very quickly going to do it with the lasso tool. And using the lasso tool in just this very random way is probably actually the best way to do it. You can just very quickly draw around that sort of exposure region. Drag it up, let go, and we can now see it's nicely selected that whole sky area. Now click Refine Edge, and we're just going to add a feather onto that of 15. Now as you'll see this red mask appear. I've just got that as default as my selection when refining edges. Just shows me exactly how well that feathered edge will look. So when I'm happy with that, I'll just click OK. Then I want to hide those ants because they're distracting, so go Control or Apple H, and then zoom in so I can really see how any adjustments that I make to the image are affecting it. So if we just go Control or Apple Plus, just to zoom into the picture. Okay, with that done, we just want to adjust the levels. Because we've selected the sky area, any adjustment we do with the levels now will only affect that top area of sky and the clouds. And what we're looking to do is just to really bring out the detail. So if we go Control or Apple L to bring up our levels dialog, and we can see the histogram. We've got quite a lot of information in the shadows, and we can see it's all quite dark. And then we can see a very thin line coming all the way up, almost to where the highlights start. So first of all, I'm just going to clip our highlights in. If I move that slider down, and I can see the sky lightening up. Don't want to do it too far, but I do want to increase the contrast just to really get those clouds showing through. If I take it up too far, we'll start to see the highlights getting clipped. Now just going to adjust the midtones, and we can really see the detail in the clouds showing through, and I'm also just going to boost the shadows a little bit. So we've now got a nice lot of detail in the sky. If I just click the preview off, and we can see how the sky has really been boosted, and we can now see loads of detail in the clouds. We've also really pulled out the detail and information on the masts here. One of the other things to take note of here is that by feathering that edge, we've got a very smooth transition between the area that has been affected by the levels adjustment and the horizon, so we can't actually see where the two areas meet. So when we're happy, we just click OK, and that applies that levels adjustment just to that area of the sky. OK, if we now zoom out, again make sure you've got your lasso selected. We'll go Control H, which will show the running ants, Control or Apple D just to deselect those, and we're now going to do exactly the same thing and same technique to the wall and just to the beach area in the foreground. Again, I want to refine that edge, give it a feathered radius of 15 pixels, hide that, and then again zoom back in so I can really see any changes that I'm making. Again, Control or Apple L to bring up our levels, and again we can see that we can really reduce the highlights a little bit. I want to clip in a bit on those shadows just to really introduce the contrast to the beach area, and I want to just adjust those midtones as well. Careful not to overdo it, otherwise you'll really start to sort of burn out some of the highlights. Getting a little bit burnt out just here where there's some pools of water. When we're happy with the contrast change, it's quite subtle for the beach there, we can click OK, and again that's applied that just to that beach region. Again zoom back out, and this time we want to just select the boats just to finalize the image. So go Control D just to deselect, and we can very quickly use the lasso tool just to select our two boats in the foreground. Again, just refine that edge by 15 and click OK. Just zoom in. Just hide the ants as we've done before. Again, open up the levels, and you can see this time the histograms are a lot fuller, and we just want to clip that in basically. So we're going to clip the highlights in just a touch, shadows in just to increase the contrast, and the main adjustment will be just using the mid-tone slider just to really boost those boats. So you can see how they look a lot more dynamic just with that little levels adjustment. So when we're happy, we'll just click OK. Zoom back out again, and we'll have a look at the effect that the levels adjustment has made on the two boats and on the scene as a whole. So if we click off our levels adjustment layer, and we can see how the original file was, and you can now see it was actually quite flat compared with how it is after we've made those levels adjustments. Okay, in the final part we're just going to clean up some sensor dust. We're going to just apply a reduced noise, and then we're going to sharpen the image, which will finalize the final HDR picture.